What's good to stream? Let's go home not that long ago. Do you want to start working now? Today's a good day. Right here in my house.
It's more arm time, and we're gonna start.
Yeah, I don't care. Hey, what's good? How you doing? What is this?
Might be asking yourself very deeply.
What happened to my bird? It's a Wikipedia logo. Okay, actually, let's start working. Whoa. Update on Quest standalone support with our VR shoes. VR chat in Doom 3. That's cool. Only issue is it's kind of a niche thing, you know. I don't think anybody actually wants to walk with their feet in VR. Accurate Doomslayer armor. I think a lot of this is happening because the new Doom game that comes out this Thursday. Okay, lighting exists. So oh yeah, today is the first public beta or the first beta test that I want to do. Can you help with? Curved. I don't think anybody would pay $15. God. I don't think anybody would pay $15 for that. You nerd.
did, something unbelievable was created. Sweet Tarts Ropes. The perfect combination of sweet and tart flavors in a soft and chewy rope. Sweet Tarts Ropes aren't just the candy you grab when you want a little treat. They're the candy you deserve. So go on, spark your senses in every bite with Sweet Tarts Ropes. Dare to combine. Tap the banner or visit sweettartscandy.com to shop now.
With over 40 years of trail innovation beneath our tread, Merrill has once again set the standard for hiking performance with the all-new Speed Arc Mattis, a next-gen sneaker designed to revolutionize your hiking experience. Featuring the first-ever Speed Arc midsole system, the Speed Arc Mattis combines high-performance energy return with dual layers of Float Pro foam cushioning, making every step feel as effortless as unstoppable. Discover the latest evolution in hiking innovation with Merrell Speed Arc Mattis, now available at Merrell.com.
Cuando tu hija está aprendiendo a manejar y dice,
Pa, yo manejo.
seguro dices,
Híjole, me va a dar.
pero ¿por qué no mejor dices algo que ayude a proteger tu auto?
Como un buen vecino, State Farm está ahí.
Y tu agente de State Farm puede ayudarte a escoger la cobertura que necesitas. Así te quedas tranquilo, hasta que escuchas.
¿Pasamos por mi novio?
¿Novio?
Como un buen vecino, State Farm está ahí. State Farm, Bloomington, Illinois.
What the flip? Okay. Me and Crash Base VC. Ah.
Details in the video description or comment. Thanks so much. Okay, let's talk standalone support, something that we are constantly asked about. I'll talk about the challenges of standalone support later, but for now, we have been able to get it working with some games. We've tested it with VR Chat, Doom 3, and Return to Castle Wolfenstein, which are Team Beef mods, Until You Fall, and The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. We know how popular VR Chat is, and it works great. In this video, you're looking at footage of VR Chat and Doom 3. Here's how we're doing it. The shoes have a new mode where they act like a standard gamepad. If you've ever paired a Nintendo Switch Pro controller or any other gamepad with your Quest and used the joystick to move around, that's essentially how these shoes behave. Any Quest game that supports a gamepad or gamepad input should work right out of the box. We went with this approach first because it has several advantages. We didn't need to
I Wonko. Ooh, what's that game? Oh my god, I think it pressed.
Huh?
I think the button got pressed. If
Yeah,
I'm correct.
really slow and I don't like it. Imagine the speed of it doesn't do shit. Did that change anything? How? Why? I don't like this.
reach out to any game developers to test if this works, so we can
Why?
handle everything on our
How?
own. We think
Why?
it's a good
Why?
first step. This method is also quick and easy to integrate with any game or application, since Unity and Unreal Engine have easy ways of integrating gamepad input already, since, most games need gamepad input already. Developers don't need to have a custom SDK from us to make this work. They can implement this easily themselves and don't have to trust any third-party code from us, or really have any code specific to FreeAim. It just works without any of that. In fact, any hardware peripheral, any VR locomotion device that can emulate a gamepad can benefit from this approach. which makes this approach more universal. But there are trade-offs to this approach. The shoes don't receive any headset data, so our position correction algorithm doesn't kick in. For that algorithm to run, we need the shoes to have the headset position and orientation. With position correction not working, an easy solution is to use the shoes within a frame, like I show here, because position correction is not needed when you're in a frame. And that's the main reason why I'm using the frame in this video. Also, movement direction is based on the way you're facing, so when you're walking, you just move in whatever direction you're facing. It's not based on the way your hips are facing like we have in SteamVR, because in order to do that, we need the headset orientation. In SteamVR, we can do more things, and one day we would love to bring all of those features to standalone too. We're talking about the Meta Quest mostly in this video, but we would like to support all platforms eventually as well. And since I'm talking about the frame, I also want to mention that this is the first time that we're showing the frame being used with the belt that you see me wearing. We've been doing more internal testing and have found that a belt, like what I'm using here,
bit more
makes
better.
people feel
It's a bit too fast now.
It's a little bit.
safer, and testers have described how they like the feedback that the belt gives them. We're curious though, what do you think of the belt? Please let us know in a comment. And I have more to say about using a frame with the VR shoes, but I'll save that for some upcoming videos. Now you might be wondering, does Meta support
Games that be
locomotion
fine,
peripherals?
trust me.
And unfortunately, not really. We've read the docs, searched the forums, and there really isn't any official support yet. That being said, there are some workarounds. Emulating a gamepad, which is what we've done, is one of them. Working directly with developers to add custom support is another. And then another is to take the games and mod them yourself and then sideload them. But this method might be risky. If you do this method, and when you load up the game, when you run the game, you may get a warning saying that you should not use an unofficial version of the game, except for development purposes. Plus, this probably won't work, or at least is risky, with online competitive games because of anti-cheat software.
That's better.
If you know of a better way of integrating locomotion devices with the Quest, please let us know. We're always looking for more options. And if you know any developers or know someone at Meta, tell them that you want native VR locomotion support. That's it for now. We'll be back later and show some videos.
This is an ordinary umbrella, and this is the flying umbrella that follows me around. Umbrellas haven't really changed for the past 4,000 years. I mean, take a look at these two pictures. The fundamental design is exactly the same, but it's 2024. I shouldn't even need to hold my umbrella. So today, I'm gonna make the world's first umbrella that flies. I mean, what could go wrong? In theory, this project should be pretty simple. I reckon I can just slap some propellers onto an umbrella so it flies like a drone, but often theory can only take you so far. Turns out people have tried similar projects in the past, but all of them are either fake or just don't really seem to work. One of the main problems has to do with the placement of propellers. Propellers work by sucking air from above and pushing it downwards to generate thrust. If we try placing propellers on top of the umbrella, there's no space under for air to flow, so it doesn't work. And if we try placing them beneath an umbrella, the umbrella obstructs the air intake, which reduces thrust and also doesn't work. If this is hard for you to understand, take this car analogy. If I place a piece of paper here, it blocks the airflow so it stops working. But what if we made an internal frame that allows the propellers to stick out and be positioned on the sides? Since there's nothing above or below, this might actually work. The propellers can then be connected to motors like this one here and controlled by various electronics, which will help the umbrella stay stabilized while it's in the air. I guess there still is a good chance that this whole project just isn't possible, but I suppose we'll have to find out. Oh yeah, let's first go find an umbrella. I have a lot of different options, but something about its bright yellow color just makes this one stand out. Let's remove the handle so nothing sticks out the bottom during flight. Now here comes a pretty major problem. This rod is the only point on the umbrella I can attach things to, which makes it really hard to design a frame that connects securely. I ended up creating two different designs, this simple practical design and this slightly better looking but impractical design. So I decided to go with this. Having these arms at an angle tucks the electronics further into the umbrella and makes the design much cleaner. The only downside is that the arms are much easier to break upon future landings. But who cares about the future when we live in the present? I actually have no experience with CAD or 3D modeling, and it only looks like I know what I'm doing because I decided to speed this clip up by 2000%, but somehow I was able to learn quickly and only after a few hours of... It's currently day 4, and that took way longer than it should have. The bright side is that we have all the parts we need. So here's the design. A central hub with a hole for the umbrella and 4 angled connection points for the arms, as well as 4 of these parts that mount the motors onto the arms, and a few other parts as well. Now let's just have these parts 3D printed. It seems like my 3D printer isn't really working. Let's try it again. For some reason it's only printing in 2D. Okay, now it's 3D, but not exactly. If only there was a way I could get someone to print these parts for me. Well, luckily, now I can. PCBWay offers the best custom PCB prototyping services, but they also offer 3D printing. Just upload your files for an instant quote, choose from a variety of materials and colors, and they take care of everything so you can get the parts shipped directly to your house. If you're working on a project and need 3D printing or any of these other services, make sure to check them out. Thank you PCBWay for sponsoring this video. It's currently day 16. Yeah. Let's start off by connecting these motor mounts to the arms. It seems like I accidentally made these holes a bit too small, so now I need to try and make them bigger. This is probably going to be a pretty boring process, so let me try to make some music. Let's go with fits. I had to do this for all 4 parts, which ended up taking an entire hour. This was actually so painful. That took way too long. I'm adding these pads, which should help soften the landings. Time to add the motors. This is getting kinda annoying. Now we can just painfully solder 24 wires, connect them to the motors, slide them into the carbon fiber tubes, and feed them into the central hub. And boom, now we have an internal frame. I think it's time to move on to electronics. First I soldered the wires to this ESC, which regulates the speed of the motors, and then I connected to this microcontroller that I can program to keep the umbrella stabilized when it's in the air. Alright guys, I messed up. I tried plugging in the LiPo battery to see if it would work, and yeah, the ESC exploded and destroyed a lot of the parts. I think it's because I soldered these wires super badly, like they might be touching each other, but I don't really know. I don't really want to spend $60 buying another ESC, so let me... There we go. Jokes aside, I had to take everything apart and buy a lot of replacement parts. At this point, I started to question why I was even putting all this effort into something that probably wouldn't even work. But maybe this mistake wasn't such a bad thing after all, as I was able to take this time to improve the design. Since I was using over 7 meters of wire, switching them out for thin ones significantly reduced the weight. And I also redesigned the wire connections, making them non-permanent, which allows the arms to now be removable so I can take things apart for storage. The large surface area of the umbrella means that even a slight breeze will cause it to be extremely unstable and drift away, so I'm hoping that a GPS can help correct for this and force the umbrella to hold position. And then for control, I'll be using this receiver and transmitter. Oh yeah, let's see if anything explodes again. Nice. Configuring and programming the drone was kinda tough, but with a bit of guesswork, self-intuition, and a bit of help from ChatGPT, I'm pretty sure this thing should now be able to fly. Why is that actually powerful? Alright, so the umbrella should friction fit into this hole, and I can wrap this around the arm so it stays in place. And with the final finishing touches, let's head out to see if this sketchy project that took months to make will actually work. I decided to start off by just testing the drone without the umbrella, and somehow it actually worked. But would the umbrella mess up the aerodynamics? We were about to find out.
If this fails, that's like many months of work just gone. All of that is just gone. But at the same time, on like the grand scheme of things, it probably doesn't even really matter. So let's just go for it. My heart is actually racing, guys. All right, we're gonna start it. Start recording. Ready? We ready? Oh, I don't want to do this. Should I just go for it? Should I? I'm actually so scared, man. Bro, that's crazy. Bro, that should not work. Oh my God. All right, let's go.
The first flight went surprisingly well, but things only started to go downhill from there. During the second flight, the umbrella started drifting away, and I barely caught up to it in time before it smashed into the fence.
John?
And then the next day, this happened.
Oh no.
And then it started shaking super violently. Yeah, there were a lot of problems.
Instead of like lowering.
But after some trial and error, I ended up fixing things, and now the umbrella is even more stable than before. Now you might be wondering, does it work in the rain? The umbrella covers the electronics, but I wrapped them up with plastic wrap just in case.
Yo!
And yeah, this thing actually shields me from the rain. It wasn't raining that hard, but I reckon this thing can withstand much harsher conditions, just probably not stronger winds. Currently I can control the umbrella to follow me around, but it doesn't do this autonomously. In the future I could attach a camera to the underside and write a program that tracks my position and moves the umbrella accordingly. So 10,000 likes and I'll try to make this work. With that